George Russell found himself in some murky waters with Mercedes, and the Max question is going to pose an even bigger threat for the Brits' future with the Brackley-based squad now that a contract is yet to be signed. Mercedes knows better than anyone else that they will have a highly competitive challenger from 2026 onwards. In that scenario, they would be smart to look at options elsewhere, such as reopening the Verstappen question, which has been more or less confirmed with the latest statement from Russell. Are we going to see a huge shakeup in Formula One's drivers' grid sooner rather than later? And if so, does Max hold all of the answers to the question? This situation is now loud and clear. Mercedes is looking like a very strong team to sign Verstappen if the Dutchman decides he's open to leaving Red Bull. Russell's statement has only gone on to prove that to a greater extent. The general belief was that the rumors aren't to be believed because Wolff decided to commit to his current lineup. But at the end of the day, can you say no to Max twice in your career? Even though Russell welcomed his team boss to bring the three-time world champion to their camp sooner rather than later, if this happens, it's highly likely that George will be the sacrificial lamb. Elaborating further on his future in Mercedes and whether or not it's secured, Russell said, "No, my position in Mercedes is not safe. But if I stay with them, next year will be my 5th year with the team. Nobody knows when their time will come. You just have to make sure that you keep performing consistently and keep delivering, and what happens then, only time will tell." This could be nothing more than an ordinary statement from George's side. After all, he's been with Mercedes for 4 years and is willing to enter the 5th one from 2026 onwards. The same has been said from Wolff as well, but now it does look like the Austrian is going to look at all of the options that are available outside of Russell. And make no mistake, Max is the hottest property out there. Rumors have started to surface regarding Leclerc's dissatisfaction with Ferrari, but after he shushed them up quite quickly, the focus is now again on Verstappen and the big Red Bull dilemma. I don't think that Mercedes will do anything with Russell if they are not sure about Verstappen's mindset first. This could be a bit offensive for the British driver, but when you have a 3-time world champion and a generational talent in Max, rumored to be switching seats, everything else is on hold. Antonelli is highly likely to be kept in Mercedes because of the massive potential he holds. And some other stuff happening between Russell and Red Bull has indicated that this scenario is definitely worth exploiting in the foreseeable future. When this year's version of the rumors that Max is related to Mercedes emerged, a report came from a Red Bull insider that Horner and Russell held talks for a potential collaboration in the near future. This is why we need to be very careful when reporting about potential trades happening sooner rather than later. It is, of course, a highly sensitive topic, and we don't want to just be speculating, just explaining all of the sides involved, backed up by statements from high-profile people. The last that we've heard from Wolff and Bradley Lord, the chief of communications at Mercedes, was that the duo they have right now is safe, and it's precisely the one with which they want to head into the 2026 regulation cycle. However, we've heard that millions of times from millions of other team principals, and when a better driver appeared to be free, the team in question started to pursue his signature. It's business at the end of the day, and there isn't much you can do about it. That's why Russell needs to be on his toes when it comes to Max Verstappen's potential availability, something that Martin Brundle, the former Sky F1 pundit, has spoken about as well. Elaborating further on this bombshell in the making, Martin said, "I think if Max Verstappen sprung into the marketplace, I would be quite worried for George actually, because Andrea Kimi Antonelli is obviously their man for the future. So there are a lot of ifs in there. George is doing a great job for them as a team leader, but Toto missed Max once. I don't think he'll miss him a second time should he get the opportunity. Be that as it may, how should Russell approach the future ahead of him? He knows for a fact that Wolff is happy with the performance of his drivers, but we also know what his opinion of Max is. If the opportunity arises, there is practically zero chance that he won't pursue Verstappen with everything he's got. And in this case, it's literally what Max wants from an F1 car: stability and dominance. He's shown that he can win races with a car that's definitely not the fastest on the grid. But now that the new regulations will shake up the grid massively, Verstappen is going to need a lot more stability than what he enjoys in Red Bull. All of the internal drama in the Austrian team made Max think about his future and whether he has an opportunity to win more championships with Red Bull. Of course, we remember his statements that this is not about titles anymore, but about him being comfortable in the environment he works in. But after all of the departures from Red Bull, does the team have what it takes to keep Max on a longer-term basis? We've seen Newey, Corrin, and Wheatley, long-standing members of Red Bull, leave the squad in a matter of months. Be that as it may, we can't be sure the same won't happen to Max, who has the infamous exit clause in his contract that keeps both his rivals and Red Bull on their toes. Wolff did speak about George Russell and Antonelli's future in the team. Addressing this situation, the Austrian was adamant. So far we are happy, and this is the lineup we want to enter the future with. And this is very important. As it goes means Verstappen is in Red Bull and Leclerc is in Ferrari. If something changes on the market, Wolff is going to be one of the first people to react to it and try to bring a top-tier driver to his squad. I do think Russell belongs in the top-tier category as well, considering he's won a couple of races with an inferior car and has qualified extremely well. But compared to Leclerc and Verstappen, I just don't think he has enough comparison material.